Maya Rodriguez had always been the smallest girl in her class. At 16, she barely reached 5 feet 2 inches, and her slight frame made her look even younger than she was. Growing up in the small industrial town of Millbrook, she lived with her grandmother Elena in a tiny apartment above the local bakery. The smell of fresh bread filled their home every morning, but it couldn't mask the underlying worry that hung in the air like morning fog. Elena worked 2 jobs to make ends meet. During the day, she cleaned offices downtown, and, in the evenings, she helped at the bakery below their apartment. Maya watched her grandmother's weathered hands count and recount their monthly bills, always coming up short. The electricity had been turned off twice that year, and Maya had learned to do her homework by candlelight when necessary. Mija, education is the only way out, Elena would tell her granddaughter every night as she tucked the thin blanket around Maya's shoulders. Your mama, she had dreams too, but life got in the way. You're smarter than all of us. Don't let anyone tell you different. Maya's mother had left when Maya was only 3 years old, chasing promises of a better life in California with a man she barely knew. She sent a postcard once showing the Hollywood sign, but that was 8 years ago. Elena never spoke badly of her daughter, but Maya could see the pain in her grandmother's eyes whenever she looked at that faded postcard on the refrigerator. At Lincoln High School, Maya was known as the quiet girl who always sat in the front row. She raised her hand for every question and stayed after class to ask for extra credit assignments. Her teachers liked her dedication, but her classmates saw her differently. They whispered about her worn-out clothes and the way she always brought the same peanut butter sandwich for lunch. Look at Maya, trying so hard, Jessica Chen would laugh to her friends during lunch break. Jessica was everything Maya wasn't: tall, confident, and wealthy. Her father owned 3 car dealerships in town, and she never let anyone forget it. She thinks good grades will magically make her rich or something. The mockery hurt, but Maya had learned to build walls around her heart. She focused on her studies with laser-like intensity. Mathematics came naturally to her, and she could solve complex equations in her head while other students struggled with calculators. Her English teacher, Mrs. Patterson, often stayed after school to discuss books with Maya, amazed by her insights into literature that many college students would miss. One rainy Thursday afternoon in October, everything changed. Maya was walking home from school when she passed the community center. Through the large windows, she could see a group of people gathered around something that looked like a large board with numbers. Curious, she pressed her nose against the glass to get a better look. An elderly man noticed her and waved her inside. Come in, young lady. No need to stand in the rain. Maya hesitated. She wasn't supposed to talk to strangers, and Elena would be worried if she was late coming home. But something about the man's kind eyes reminded her of her late grandfather, and the warmth inside was inviting after the cold rain. What's happening in here? Maya asked quietly as she stepped inside, water dripping from her old jacket. Chess tournament, the man replied with a smile. I'm Frank Morrison, and I run this place. Are you interested in chess? Maya shook her head. I don't know how to play. I've seen it in movies, but... Frank's eyes lit up. Would you like to learn? We have a beginners group that meets every Tuesday and Thursday. Maya looked around the room. The people playing chess were focused and serious, moving pieces with careful consideration. There was something beautiful about the quiet intensity of the game. She had never seen anything like it. I can't pay for lessons, Maya said honestly, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. Frank waved his hand dismissively. Nonsense. This is a community center. Everything here is free. The only payment we ask is that you show up and try your best. That night, Maya asked Elena about the chess club. Her grandmother was initially worried about Maya spending time with strangers, but when Maya explained that it was free and supervised, Elena's expression softened. If it makes you happy, Mija, then go. But you must keep up with your schoolwork. I promise, Abuela. I'll do both. The following Tuesday, Maya nervously entered the community center again. Frank introduced her to the basics of chess, how each piece moved, the objective of the game, and some simple strategies. Maya's mathematical mind absorbed the rules quickly, but actually playing was different from understanding the theory. Her first opponent was Tommy, a boy about her age with thick glasses and a patient demeanor. He beat her in 12 moves, but instead of gloating, he showed her what she had done wrong and suggested better moves. "You're thinking too much about individual pieces," Tommy explained. "Chess is about seeing the whole board, understanding how everything works together." Maya nodded, filing away his advice. She lost her second game too, and her third. But, with each loss, she learned something new. Frank noticed her determination and began staying after the regular sessions to give her additional instruction. "You have something special," Frank told her one evening as they reset the board for another practice game. "I've been teaching chess for 20 years, and I've never seen someone pick up patterns as quickly as you do." Maya felt a warmth in her chest that she hadn't experienced before. For the first time in her life, someone believed she had a talent for something beyond just memorizing textbook facts. As weeks turned into months, Maya's improvement was remarkable. She began winning games against players who had been playing for years. Her rating in the local chess club climbed steadily, and Frank started suggesting that she enter actual tournaments. "Tournaments cost money to enter," Maya said sadly. "And I would need to travel." Frank smiled mysteriously. "Let me worry about that. There's a regional tournament coming up in 3 months. I think you should compete." Maya's heart raced. A real tournament? Against real players from other cities? The thought was both terrifying and exhilarating. At school, Maya's newfound passion for chess became another source of ridicule. When she tried to start a chess club, only 2 other students showed up, both outcasts like herself. Jessica and her friends thought it was hilarious. "Chess? Really?" Jessica laughed loudly in the hallway, making sure everyone could hear. "That's such a weird hobby. Only weird people play chess." Maya's friend Sarah, one of the 2 students who had joined her chess club, stepped closer to Maya protectively. "At least she's good at something besides spending Daddy's money," Sarah muttered. Jessica's face turned red, but before she could respond, their math teacher appeared and the crowd dispersed. That afternoon, Maya practiced chess with extra intensity. Every mocking laugh, every dismissive comment fueled her determination. She studied chess books that Frank lent her, analyzing famous games and memorizing opening strategies. She practiced against computer programs on the library's old computer, staying until closing time. Elena noticed the change in her granddaughter. Maya seemed more focused, more confident. She still did all her schoolwork, but now she had something that made her eyes light up when she talked about it. "This chess, it makes you happy?" Elena asked one evening as they shared their simple dinner of rice and beans. "Yes, abuela. When I'm playing chess, I feel like I can do anything. I feel smart and strong." Elena smiled, remembering her own dreams from long ago. "Then, you keep playing, Mija. Dreams are precious things. Don't let anyone take them from you." As the regional tournament approached, Frank organized fundraising events at the community center. The local chess community rallied around Maya, holding bake sales and car washes to raise money for her entry fee and travel expenses. The support overwhelmed Maya, who had grown up believing she could only count on herself and Elena. "Why are you all doing this for me?" Maya asked Frank one evening after a particularly successful fundraiser. Frank looked at her seriously. "Because talent like yours comes along once in a decade. Because you represent hope for every kid who thinks they don't matter. And because chess is bigger than just a game, it's about proving that intelligence and determination can overcome any obstacle." Maya felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders, but it didn't frighten her. Instead, it motivated her to practice even harder. 2 weeks before the tournament, Maya played in a practice match against visiting players from the state capital. She won 4 out of 5 games, including a victory against a player who held a master rating. The chess community began buzzing with excitement about the quiet girl from Millbrook who was making waves in the local chess scene. But not everyone was supportive. At school, the mockery intensified. I heard Maya thinks she's going to some big chess tournament, Jessica announced during lunch, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Like anyone cares about chess. It's not a real sport. It's just sitting around moving little pieces. At least she's good at something, defended Marcus, a boy who usually kept to himself. When's the last time you accomplished anything besides buying expensive clothes? The cafeteria fell silent. Jessica's face turned bright red, and she stood up so quickly her chair fell backward. Excuse me? Do you know who my father is? Do you know what kind of connections my family has? Maya can play all the chess she wants, but it won't change the fact that she's poor and weird and will never amount to anything. Maya, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, felt something snap inside her. She stood up slowly, her hands trembling not with fear, but with determination. You're right, Maya said clearly, her voice carrying across the silent cafeteria. I am poor. And maybe I am weird. But I'd rather be weird and have something I'm passionate about than be rich and have nothing but daddy's money to define me. The cafeteria erupted in whispers and nervous laughter. Jessica looked stunned that quiet Maya had actually stood up to her. We'll see how far your precious chess gets you, Jessica sneered before storming out. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. The confrontation replayed in her mind, but instead of feeling regret, she felt a surge of power. She had stood up for herself for the first time in her life, and it felt incredible. Elena noticed Maya's restlessness and sat on the edge of her bed. Something is troubling you, Mija? Maya told her grandmother about the incident at school. Elena listened quietly, then took Maya's hands in her weathered ones. Your mama, she was afraid to stand up for herself. She let other people's words make her feel small. But you're different. You have fire in you. That's good, but you must use that fire to build something beautiful, not to burn bridges. I want to win that tournament, Abuela. I want to show everyone that being different doesn't mean being less. Elena smiled and kissed Maya's forehead. Then, win, Mija. Show them what Rodriguez's determination looks like. The night before leaving for the tournament, Maya packed her small suitcase with the few nice clothes she owned. Frank had arranged for her to stay with a chess-playing family in the tournament city, and she would ride with him and 2 other players from their club. As she folded her clothes, Maya found the old postcard from her mother. She stared at the Hollywood sign for a long moment, then made a decision. She wouldn't pack it. This trip was about her own dreams, not her mother's abandoned ones. Elena helped her pack a lunch for the road trip and slipped a small envelope into Maya's suitcase. Don't open this until after your first tournament game, Elena instructed. It's for luck. Maya hugged her grandmother tightly, breathing in the familiar scent of lavender and determination that always surrounded Elena. I love you, Abuela. Thank you for believing in me. I always believe in you, Mija. Now go show the world what I already know, that you are extraordinary. As Maya drifted off to sleep that night, she dreamed of chess pieces dancing across giant boards, of crowds cheering, and of proving to everyone, including herself, that dreams could come true with enough courage and determination. Tomorrow would be the first day of the rest of her life. The 3-hour drive to Metro City passed in a blur of nervous excitement for Maya. Frank drove his old Honda Civic, while Tommy and another club member, 60-year-old retired teacher Mrs. Chen, shared stories of their first tournament experiences. Maya sat quietly in the back seat, watching the landscape change from rural farms to suburban neighborhoods to towering city buildings. Nervous? Tommy asked, noticing Maya's white knuckles as she gripped her backpack. Terrified, Maya admitted honestly. What if I freeze up? What if I forget everything I've learned? Mrs. Chen turned around with a knowing smile. Honey, I've been playing tournament chess for 15 years, and I still get butterflies before every game. The day you stop feeling nervous is the day you stop caring enough to improve. Frank glanced at Maya in the rearview mirror. Remember what we practiced. Trust your instincts, take your time, and don't let anyone intimidate you. You've earned your place here. The tournament was being held at the Grand Metro Hotel, a gleaming building in the heart of downtown. As they pulled into the parking garage, Maya's breath caught in her throat. She had never seen so many luxury cars in one place, and the lobby they entered was more magnificent than anything she had ever imagined. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, marble floors gleamed under perfect lighting, and well-dressed people moved through the space with the confidence that came from belonging in such places. Maya suddenly felt very small and very out of place in her thrift store clothes and worn-out sneakers. The tournament hall itself was enormous, filled with dozens of chess tables arranged in perfect rows. Players ranged from children younger than Maya to elderly grandmasters with decades of experience. The air hummed with quiet concentration and the soft sounds of chess pieces being moved across boards. Frank helped Maya register at the tournament desk. The registration official, a stern-looking woman with perfectly styled gray hair, looked Maya up and down with barely concealed disdain. First tournament, the woman asked in a tone that suggested she already knew the answer. Yes, ma'am, Maya replied politely. Well, try to remember that this is a serious event. Players are expected to conduct themselves with proper decorum. She handed Maya a name tag and tournament packet without another word. Maya felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. She hadn't done anything wrong, but somehow this woman had made her feel like she didn't belong here simply by existing. The host family Frank had arranged was the Washingtons, a middle-aged African-American couple who had been active in the chess community for years. David Washington was a software engineer, and his wife Patricia was a high school principal. They welcomed Maya warmly into their suburban home, showing her to a comfortable guest room that was larger than the living room she shared with Elena. We've heard wonderful things about you from Frank, Patricia said as she helped Maya settle in. David and I have been following chess in your region, and your improvement has been remarkable. Thank you, Maya said quietly. I'm just hoping I don't embarrass myself tomorrow. David laughed good-naturedly. Trust me, we've all embarrassed ourselves at tournaments. I once moved my king into check 3 times in one game because I was so nervous. The important thing is to learn from every experience. That evening, the Washingtons took Maya out for dinner at a nice restaurant, another first for her. She had never eaten at a place where the waiters wore bow ties and the menus didn't have pictures. Patricia noticed her confusion and kindly helped her navigate the ordering process. So tell us about yourself, Maya, David said as they waited for their food. Frank mentioned you're quite accomplished academically as well. Maya found herself opening up to this kind couple in a way she rarely did with strangers. She told them about her dreams of college, her grandmother's sacrifices, and how chess had become her passion. The Washingtons listened with genuine interest, asking thoughtful questions and sharing stories of their own children, who were now grown and lived in other cities. You remind me of my daughter when she was your age, Patricia said warmly. She was also the quiet one who surprised everyone with her inner strength. She's a doctor now, specializing in pediatric surgery. Maya felt a flutter of possibility in her chest. Could she really imagine a future where she became someone important, someone who helped others? After dinner, David set up a chessboard and offered to play a practice game with Maya. He was a strong player, rated nearly expert level, and Maya found herself working harder than usual to keep up. She lost the game, but David's feedback was encouraging. You have excellent tactical vision, he told her. And your endgame technique is surprisingly mature for someone who's been playing such a short time. Tomorrow, just remember to trust yourself. Maya slept fitfully that night, her dreams filled with images of chessboards and faceless opponents. She woke before dawn, her stomach churning with nervous energy. Patricia made her a hearty breakfast of eggs, toast, and fresh fruit, though Maya could barely eat. You need fuel for your brain, Patricia insisted gently. Chess is more physically demanding than people realize. The first round began at 9 o'clock sharp. Maya's opponent was a boy about her age named Brandon, who wore an expensive polo shirt and had the kind of confident swagger that reminded her uncomfortably of Jessica back home. When he saw Maya across the board, he barely suppressed a smirk. Good luck, he said in a tone that suggested he thought she would need it. Maya nodded politely and focused on the board. This was it, her first real tournament game. Everything she had worked for came down to this moment.
Before making her first move, Maya remembered the envelope Elena had given her.
She had tucked it into her tournament bag and promised to open it after her first game, but suddenly, she needed to see it now. She excused herself briefly to the restroom and carefully opened the small envelope. Inside was a faded photograph of her mother as a young woman, standing next to Elena in front of their apartment building. On the back, in Elena's careful handwriting, were the words, "Your mama had dreams too, but she gave up too soon.
You are stronger than she was. You are stronger than you know. Te amo, abuela."
Maya felt tears prick her eyes, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of determination. She carefully folded the photo and put it in her pocket, close to her heart.
Returning to the board, Maya felt different. Calmer. More focused.
Brandon was already getting impatient, drumming his fingers on the table as Maya settled back into her seat. Maya opened with her favorite queen's pawn opening, something Frank had taught her because it led to solid, strategic positions.
Brandon responded aggressively, trying to create immediate complications. But Maya had studied this type of position extensively with Frank, and she navigated the early moves with confidence. By the middle game, a complex position had emerged. Both players had castled on opposite sides of the board, leading to a race where each tried to attack the other's king first. This was exactly the kind of tactical battle that Maya excelled at. Brandon made his moves quickly, clearly trying to intimidate Maya with his speed.
But Maya took her time, calculating variations carefully. Frank had taught her that time was a resource to be used wisely, not wasted. On move 23, Maya saw it, a beautiful tactical sequence that would win material. Brandon had left his king slightly exposed while pressing his attack, and Maya found a forcing sequence of moves that would win his queen. She began the combination with a quiet bishop move that seemed harmless but actually set up a deadly trap. Brandon frowned at the board, sensing danger but unable to identify the threat. He thought for several minutes before making what he believed was a safe move.
Maya struck immediately, sacrificing a knight to expose Brandon's king. Brandon's eyes widened as he suddenly saw the trap. No matter how he responded, he would lose his queen. "Nice combination," Brandon muttered grudgingly as he resigned the game.
Maya tried to keep her expression neutral, but inside she was soaring. She had won her first tournament game, and she had done it with beautiful tactics against an opponent who had clearly underestimated her. Frank was waiting for her outside the tournament hall with a huge grin.
"How did it feel?" he asked. "Amazing," Maya replied honestly. "I felt like I belonged at that board." "You do belong," Frank said firmly. "Never let anyone tell you otherwise."
Maya's second round opponent was more challenging, a middle-aged woman named Dr. Sarah Kim who had been playing tournament chess for over a decade. Dr. Kim was polite but serious, offering a brief handshake before settling in to study the position.
This game was different from the first.
Dr. Kim played solid, positional chess, gradually building small advantages rather than seeking immediate tactical fireworks. Maya found herself in unfamiliar territory, having to defend carefully while looking for opportunities to equalize. The position remained roughly equal for 30 moves, with both players maneuvering carefully. Maya's clock was running lower than her opponent's. Dr. Kim was clearly more experienced at managing time pressure. In the endgame, Dr. Kim achieved a slight advantage with better piece coordination. Maya defended tenaciously, but eventually succumbed to the pressure and made a small mistake that cost her the game. "Well played," Dr. Kim said warmly after Maya resigned.
"You defended very well under pressure. With more experience, you'll convert positions like that into draws."
Maya felt disappointed but not discouraged. She had learned something valuable about endgame play, and Dr. Kim's respectful treatment of her as an equal opponent meant more than the loss stung. Her third-round opponent was an elderly man named George who had been playing chess since before Maya was born. He moved slowly and deliberately, taking his time to consider each position carefully.
This game showcased Maya's tactical strengths.
George played conservatively, trying to avoid complications, but Maya gradually built pressure on his position. When George made a slight inaccuracy on move 18, Maya pounced with a brilliant tactical sequence that won a pawn and led to a winning endgame.
George studied the final position for several minutes before extending his hand in resignation. "That was a very nice attack, young lady," he said with genuine admiration. "You remind me of myself when I was first learning the beauty of tactical combinations." Maya's confidence was building. 2 wins and 1 loss after 3 rounds was better than she had dared hope for her first tournament. The evening analysis session was one of Maya's favorite parts of the day. Players gathered in the hotel lobby to discuss their games, analyze positions, and share insights. Maya found herself welcomed into conversations with players much stronger than herself, all eager to share knowledge and learn from each other. "The chess community is special that way," Patricia Washington explained as she and Maya walked back to their car. "It doesn't matter how old you are or where you come from, if you love the game and work to improve, people will respect you and help you grow." That night at dinner, Maya told the Washingtons about her 3 games. David was particularly impressed by her tactical victory over George. "Tactics are often called the foundation of chess," David said. "If you can see combinations consistently, you'll always be dangerous against any opponent." Maya fell asleep more easily that night, her confidence boosted by the day's successes. Tomorrow would bring 3 more rounds, and she was beginning to believe that she might actually achieve a respectable result in her first tournament. But, as she drifted off to sleep, Maya had no idea that the next day would bring challenges that would test not just her chess skills, but her character and determination in ways she never expected. Maya woke on the second day of the tournament feeling more confident than she had in years. The morning sun streamed through the Washingtons' guest room window, and, for a moment, she allowed herself to imagine that this could be her regular life, waking up in a comfortable room, preparing for intellectual challenges that excited rather than intimidated her. Patricia had prepared another nutritious breakfast, and this time Maya was able to eat with genuine appetite. The nervous energy was still there, but it had transformed from paralyzing anxiety into focused anticipation. "You're carrying yourself differently today," David observed with a smile. "Yesterday you looked like you were afraid the building might collapse on you. Today you look like you belong here." "I think I'm starting to believe I do," Maya replied, surprising herself with her honesty. The tournament hall buzzed with energy as players prepared for round 4. Maya noticed that other competitors had begun to take notice of her. Conversations quieted slightly when she walked past, and she caught several players glancing in her direction while discussing the standings. Frank found her before the round began, carrying a cup of coffee and wearing the biggest grin she had ever seen on his face. "Do you know where you stand in the tournament?" he asked, barely able to contain his excitement. Maya shook her head. She had been so focused on each individual game that she hadn't thought about overall standings. "You're currently tied for 3rd place out of 64 players," Frank announced. "With 2 wins and 1 loss, you're having the kind of performance that usually takes years to achieve." Maya felt her heart skip a beat. 3rd place? In her first tournament? It seemed impossible. Her 4th-round opponent was a stern-looking teenage boy named Marcus Williams, who was clearly taking the tournament very seriously. He wore a pressed shirt and tie, carried a leather chess set case, and had multiple chess books sticking out of his tournament bag. When he sat down across from Maya, he studied her with calculating eyes. "I've heard you're the newcomer everyone's talking about," Marcus said in a tone that was neither friendly nor hostile. "Should be an interesting game." Marcus played with machine-like precision, making moves quickly and confidently. It was clear he had studied opening theory extensively, and Maya found herself in unfamiliar territory after just 8 moves. The position was complex, with pieces flying across the board in tactical complications that made Maya's head spin. For the first time in the tournament, Maya felt truly outclassed. Marcus seemed to know exactly what he was doing, while Maya was calculating frantically just to stay in the game. Her clock was ticking down much faster than her opponent's, and she could feel sweat beading on her forehead despite the air conditioning. By move 20, Maya was in serious trouble. Marcus had built up a crushing position, with his pieces coordinated beautifully while Maya's forces seemed scattered and ineffective. Several spectators had gathered around their board, drawn by the intensity of the struggle. But then, on move 23, Marcus made his first mistake of the game. It was a small error, a slightly inaccurate piece placement that gave Maya just enough breathing room to start fighting back.
Maya seized the opportunity immediately, finding a tactical sequence that forced the exchange of several pieces and simplified the position. Suddenly, the game was approximately equal again. Marcus looked surprised and slightly frustrated that his advantage had evaporated. His moves became less confident, and Maya could sense his growing discomfort. The endgame was tense, with both players having roughly equal material but very different pawn structures. Maya's countless hours of endgame study with Frank began to pay off. She found the most accurate moves, gradually improving her position while Marcus struggled to find the best defensive setup. After 4 hours of intense battle, Marcus finally cracked under the pressure. He made a fatal mistake in the final position, allowing Maya to win a crucial pawn and achieve a winning endgame. When Marcus resigned 15 moves later, Maya felt like she had climbed a mountain. "That was an excellent game," Marcus admitted as they shook hands. "You defended really well when you were worse, and your endgame technique is impressive." Frank was practically vibrating with excitement when Maya emerged from the tournament hall. "That was incredible. You just beat one of the top juniors in the region." Maya was exhausted but exhilarated. The mental strain of the 4-hour game had drained her, but proving she could compete with serious tournament players gave her a confidence boost that felt better than any drug. Round 5 brought another challenging opponent, a college student named Jennifer who was home for winter break. Jennifer was friendly and relaxed, chatting casually about chess and school while they waited for the round to begin. "I hear you're having an amazing tournament," Jennifer said warmly. "It's always exciting to see new talent emerge." This game showcased a different side of Maya's chess ability. Instead of the tactical fireworks of her previous games, this became a strategic battle where both players maneuvered carefully for small advantages. Maya demonstrated patience and positional understanding that surprised even herself. Jennifer tried to create attacking chances on the king side, but Maya defended accurately while building counterplay on the opposite side of the board. The position remained balanced for most of the game, with neither player able to achieve a significant advantage. In the final phase of the game, Maya made the kind of subtle positional decision that separated strong players from merely good ones. She sacrificed a pawn to activate her pieces and create long-term pressure on Jennifer's position. Jennifer defended skillfully, but Maya's pressure eventually became too much to handle. After nearly 3.5 hours, Jennifer made a small mistake that allowed Maya to win material and convert the advantage into victory. "Wow," Jennifer said as they analyzed the game afterward. "That positional sacrifice was really mature. I didn't see the depth of your plan until it was too late." With 4 wins and 1 loss after 5 rounds, Maya found herself in an almost unbelievable situation. She was now alone in first place in the tournament. Players who had been politely ignoring her earlier were now approaching her for analysis sessions and asking about her chess background. The attention was both thrilling and overwhelming. Maya had never been the center of attention for anything positive, and she wasn't sure how to handle the sudden interest in her success. That evening, the tournament director made an announcement that sent ripples of excitement through the playing hall. "Due to the exceptional level of play we've seen so far, local news station WMTV will be covering tomorrow's final round. They're particularly interested in our current leader, Maya Rodriguez, whose Cinderella story has captured everyone's imagination." Maya felt her stomach drop. Television cameras? News coverage? She had never even been photographed by a school newspaper, much less interviewed by real reporters. Frank noticed her panic and placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "This is good news, Maya. Win or lose tomorrow, you've already accomplished something remarkable. People need to hear stories like yours." But Maya wasn't thinking about inspiring others. She was thinking about Jessica and her cruel friends back home, about how they would react if they saw her on television. The thought of their mockery being broadcast to thousands of people made her feel sick. That night at the Washingtons' house, Maya was unusually quiet during dinner. Patricia finally asked what was troubling her. "I don't know if I can handle the cameras and interviews," Maya confessed. "What if I say something stupid? What if I freeze up? And what if I lose the final round badly and embarrass myself on television?" David leaned forward with a serious expression.
Maya, can I tell you something about pressure? I've been in high-stress situations my entire career in software development. The key isn't to eliminate nervousness, it's to channel that nervous energy into focus and determination. But what if people back home see it and make fun of me? Maya asked quietly. Patricia's expression softened with understanding. Honey, are you worried about what people at your school will think? Maya nodded miserably. She told them about Jessica's constant mockery, about feeling like an outsider, about how chess had become one more thing for people to ridicule her about. Let me ask you something, Patricia said gently. Who do you think you are playing for tomorrow? For the people who doubt you, or for the people who believe in you? Maya thought about Elena, staying up late to help with fundraising events even though she was exhausted from working 2 jobs. She thought about Frank, spending countless hours teaching her because he believed in her potential. She thought about Tommy and Mrs. Chun and all the chess club members who had donated money they couldn't afford to help her get to this tournament. I'm playing for the people who believe in me, Maya said slowly. Then, those are the only opinions that matter, David replied firmly. The people who mock your dreams are usually just afraid to pursue their own. Maya slept better that night, though she still woke up several times thinking about the final round. In just 12 hours, she would sit down for the most important chess game of her life, with television cameras recording every move. The morning of the final round dawned gray and drizzly, matching Maya's mood perfectly. The breakfast that Patricia prepared tasted like cardboard in Maya's mouth, and she had to force herself to eat anything at all. When they arrived at the tournament hall, Maya was shocked to see a small crowd of spectators who hadn't been there for previous rounds. The news story had apparently generated interest from local chess enthusiasts, and several dozen people had come to watch the final round. Near the entrance, Maya spotted the news crew setting up their equipment. A reporter with perfectly styled hair was practicing her introduction while a cameraman tested various angles. Maya's hands began to shake as the reality of the situation hit her. Maya Rodriguez? The reporter approached with a bright smile and an extended microphone. I'm Sarah Chen from WMTV News. Could we get a quick interview before your final round? Maya's throat went dry. She looked desperately at Frank, who nodded encouragingly. Okay, Maya managed to say. So Maya, you've had an incredible tournament so far. You're currently in first place, which is remarkable for someone playing in their first tournament. How does it feel? Maya stared into the camera lens, her mind completely blank. Seconds ticked by in what felt like an eternity. Finally, she managed to speak. It feels surreal. I never imagined I could compete at this level. I'm just trying to do my best and make my grandmother proud. Tell us about your background. I understand you learned chess relatively recently? Yes, ma'am. I started playing about 8 months ago at our local community center. My coach, Frank Morrison, has been incredible. And my grandmother has supported my dreams even though we don't have much money. Maya surprised herself by how naturally the words came once she started talking about the people who mattered to her. What would it mean to you to win this tournament? Maya thought for a moment. It would mean that dreams can come true even when people tell you they can't. It would mean that hard work and determination matter more than where you come from or what other people think of you. Well, we'll all be watching your final round. Good luck, Maya. As the camera crew moved away to set up for the actual games, Maya felt something she hadn't expected: relief. The interview hadn't been nearly as terrifying as she had imagined, and talking about her goals had actually helped clarify her thoughts. The tournament director announced the final round pairings, and Maya's heart nearly stopped when she heard her opponent's name, Alexandra Petrov, a Russian exchange student who was rated nearly expert level and had been playing tournament chess since she was 6 years old. Alexandra was everything Maya wasn't: tall, elegant, and supremely confident. She moved through the tournament hall like royalty, carrying herself with the poise of someone who had never doubted her place in the world. When they shook hands before the game, Alexandra's grip was firm and her gaze direct. Good luck, Alexandra said in accented English. I look forward to interesting game. As Maya sat down at the board for the most important game of her life,
she touched the photo in her pocket and thought about everyone who had believed in her journey. Win or lose, she had already come further than anyone had ever expected. Now it was time to find out just how far dreams could carry her. The tournament hall had never been quieter. Every conversation had stopped, every casual noise had faded to silence. The only sounds were the soft ticking of chess clocks and the barely audible breathing of the dozens of spectators who had gathered around board 1, where Maya Rodriguez sat across from Alexandra Petrov in the final round of the Metro Regional Championship. Maya could feel the weight of every gaze in the room. The television camera was positioned just close enough to capture every expression without being intrusive, its red recording light a constant reminder that this moment would be preserved forever. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for her white pieces to make the first move. Alexandra sat perfectly still, her dark eyes studying Maya with the calculating intensity of a predator sizing up prey. Everything about Alexandra radiated experience and confidence, from her expensive chess set to her perfectly pressed tournament attire. She had traveled internationally for chess competitions since childhood, playing in tournaments that Maya could only dream of affording. Maya closed her eyes for just a moment and thought about the journey that had brought her here. 8 months ago, she had been just another invisible poor kid from Millbrook, someone whose biggest dream was simply graduating high school without embarrassing herself. Now she sat in first place at a major regional tournament, one win away from achieving something that would change her life forever. She opened her eyes, moved her queen's pawn forward 2 squares, and pressed her clock. Alexandra responded immediately with the same move, and the game was underway. The opening proceeded along theoretical lines that both players knew well. Maya had spent countless hours with Frank studying the systems that arose from this particular pawn structure, but she could tell that Alexandra's knowledge ran much deeper. Every move the Russian girl made was precise and purposeful, part of a comprehensive understanding that came from years of high-level instruction. By move 10, Alexandra had achieved a slight but noticeable advantage. Her pieces were better coordinated, her king was safer, and she had more control over the critical central squares. Maya found herself reacting to Alexandra's threats rather than creating her own plans. Frank watched from the audience with growing concern. He had seen this pattern before, a less experienced player gradually getting outplayed by superior theoretical knowledge and positional understanding. Maya was fighting hard, but she was being systematically outmaneuvered by a player who understood the nuances of the position better than she did. The television reporter whispered commentary to her cameraman, explaining to viewers who might not understand chess that the Russian girl appeared to be slowly building a winning advantage. Several spectators nodded knowingly, having seen similar scenarios play out countless times in tournament chess. Maya sensed the shift in mood around the board. The initial excitement about her underdog story was giving way to resignation as people began to accept that the fairy tale was coming to an end. She could almost hear the unspoken thoughts, "It was a nice run, but real chess is different from local club games." On move 18, Alexandra played a move that looked simple but was actually incredibly deep. She repositioned a knight to a square where it didn't seem to accomplish much immediately, but Maya suddenly realized it was preparing a devastating strategic blow several moves in the future. Maya spent nearly 20 minutes studying the position, using precious time she couldn't afford to lose. Her clock was already running low compared to Alexandra's, and every minute she spent thinking was a minute less she would have for the critical phases of the game that lay ahead. But something remarkable happened during those 20 minutes of intense calculation. As Maya dove deeper into the position, looking for ways to counter Alexandra's plan, she began to see possibilities that hadn't been visible on the surface. The position was complex enough that even Alexandra, with all her experience, might not have calculated every variation to its conclusion. Maya found a tactical sequence that would force the exchange of several pieces and lead to an endgame that, while still slightly worse for her, offered realistic drawing chances. More importantly, it would eliminate Alexandra's positional advantages and turn the game into a pure test of calculation and technique. Maya's hand hovered over the piece for several seconds, double-checking her analysis one more time. The sequence required precise calculation, one wrong move would leave her in a completely hopeless position. But, if she calculated correctly, she could escape the opening disadvantage and give herself a fighting chance. She made the first move of the combination.
Alexandra's eyes widened slightly as she recognized what Maya was attempting.
The Russian girl had clearly expected Maya to play something more conservative, perhaps trying to hold the position together without taking any risks. Alexandra spent her first significant amount of time on the clock, calculating the forced sequence that Maya had initiated. When Alexandra played her response, Maya knew her calculation had been correct. The tactical sequence proceeded exactly as she had envisioned, with pieces flying off the board in a series of forced exchanges. When the complications settled, the position had been transformed from a complex positional struggle into a roughly equal endgame.
For the first time in the game, Alexandra looked uncertain.
She was no longer playing from a position of strength, no longer able to rely on superior theoretical knowledge. Now it would come down to pure chess skill, calculation, and endgame technique. The audience sensed the shift in momentum. Conversations that had died down during Alexandra's domination suddenly resumed as people realized the game was far from over. Frank felt his heart rate increase as he recognized that Maya had successfully navigated through the most dangerous phase of the game. The endgame was a complex one, with both players having rooks, bishops, and several pawns. These types of positions required enormous precision, as small mistakes could quickly become decisive advantages. Maya drew on every endgame lesson Frank had taught her, every position they had analyzed together during their evening training sessions.
Alexandra was clearly frustrated by the turn of events.
She had been in complete control of the game, steadily building her advantage like a master craftsman assembling a fine watch. Now she found herself in an equal position against an opponent who was supposed to be overmatched. Maya, meanwhile, felt the pressure but also a growing sense of confidence.
She had survived Alexandra's best efforts to gain an advantage.
Now they were fighting on equal terms, and Maya's natural tactical ability and fierce determination were assets that couldn't be measured by rating points or tournament experience.
The critical moment came on move 37.
Alexandra had been trying to create winning chances by pushing her passed pawn forward, but Maya found a brilliant defensive resource that completely neutralized the threat. Instead of simply stopping the pawn, Maya sacrificed her bishop for 2 pawns, creating her own passed pawns on the opposite side of the board. The position was now incredibly sharp, with both players racing to promote their pawns to queens. This was exactly the kind of tactical calculation that Maya excelled at, and she began to outplay her more experienced opponent in the sharp variations that followed. Alexandra made her first serious mistake on move 41, allowing Maya's passed pawns to advance too far. Suddenly, Maya wasn't just holding the position anymore, she was actually better, with a real chance to win the game.
The audience was completely absorbed now.
Even people who had come to watch other games had gathered around board 1, sensing that they were witnessing something special. The television camera captured every moment as Maya methodically converted her advantage, her confidence growing with each accurate move.
Alexandra fought desperately, trying to create complications that might give Maya a chance to go wrong.
But Maya's calculation was flawless, and she found the most accurate moves in position after position. Her pieces worked together with beautiful coordination, demonstrating the tactical vision that had first caught Frank's attention months ago.
On move 56, Alexandra's position finally collapsed completely.
Maya had promoted one of her pawns to a queen, and her overwhelming material advantage made further resistance pointless. Alexandra studied the position for several minutes, looking for any possible way to continue the fight, before finally extending her hand in resignation. The tournament hall exploded in applause. Maya sat stunned for several seconds, unable to fully process what had just happened.
She had done it. She had actually won the tournament.
Frank rushed to the board, tears streaming down his face as he embraced his student.
"You did it, Maya. You actually did it."
The tournament director made his way through the crowd to confirm the final standings. Maya Rodriguez, playing in her first tournament, had scored 5 wins and 1 loss, achieving a performance rating of over 1900, nearly expert level. "Ladies and gentlemen," the tournament director announced to the still applauding crowd, "not only has Maya Rodriguez won the Metro Regional Championship in her first tournament, she has set a new record for the highest performance rating ever achieved by a first-time tournament player in this region." The news reporter rushed forward with her microphone, but Maya barely heard the questions being asked. She was thinking about Elena, who would be watching the news coverage later that evening. She was thinking about all the people back home who had called her weird for loving chess. "How does it feel to win your first tournament?" the reporter asked. Maya looked directly into the camera, and, when she spoke, her voice was clear and strong. "It feels like proof that it doesn't matter where you come from or what people think of your dreams. It feels like validation for every person who has ever been told they're not good enough or smart enough or worthy enough. And it feels like the beginning of something wonderful, not the end. What's next for you?" Maya smiled, thinking about the college scholarship opportunities that tournament victories like this could open up, about the advanced chess training that was now within reach, about all the possibilities that had seemed impossible just a year ago. "Everything," she said simply. "Everything is next." As the crowd began to disperse and the camera crew packed up their equipment, Maya found herself alone at the board where she had just made chess history. Alexandra approached her quietly, having waited for the media attention to die down. "I want to congratulate you properly," Alexandra said with genuine respect. "That endgame was brilliant. You played like someone with years more experience." "Thank you," Maya replied. "You pushed me to play better than I knew I could." "I think you will go very far in chess," Alexandra continued. "Perhaps we will meet again in stronger tournaments." As Maya packed up her pieces, she thought about the journey that had brought her to this moment. Every mocking comment at school had motivated her to work harder. Every hour of study with Frank had prepared her for positions like the ones she had faced today. Every sacrifice Elena had made had given her the foundation to reach for something greater. Frank drove her back to the Washingtons' house in a state of euphoria, talking nonstop about the game and what it meant for Maya's future. The Washingtons greeted her with champagne, sparkling grape juice for Maya, and insisted on calling Elena immediately to share the news. "Mija." Elena's voice crackled through the phone connection, thick with emotion. "I saw you on the television. You looked so confident, so strong." "I did it, abuela. I actually did it. I never doubted you would, Mija. Never for 1 second." That evening, as Maya lay in the comfortable guest bed at the Washingtons' house, she thought about returning to school on Monday. Jessica and her friends would have seen the news coverage by now. The mockery would probably continue, but it would be different now. Maya had proof that her dreams weren't just fantasies. More importantly, she had proof for herself. She was more than just a poor girl from a small town with impossible dreams. She was someone with genuine talent, someone who could compete with the best and win through intelligence, determination, and hard work. The trophy sat on the dresser across from her bed, catching the moonlight that streamed through the window. Tomorrow she would return to her ordinary life, helping Elena with bills, doing homework at the kitchen table, practicing chess at the community center. But she would return as someone different, someone who had touched greatness and knew it was within her reach again. Maya Rodriguez had asked for a shot, and, when the world finally gave her one, she had taken aim at the stars and hit her target perfectly. It was just the beginning of a story that would inspire countless others to believe in the power of dreams backed by determination. As she drifted off to sleep, Maya smiled at the thought of all the young people who might see her story and think, maybe I can do something amazing too. Because that, she realized, was the most important victory of all.